I'll just start talking. Here we go. All right, we are live. So hello and welcome. Sales is not a numbers game. Leads are humans that you don't know yet. Customers are humans that you have a relationship with. Now, today I am speaking with Ross Keating, a business growth specialist who's helped companies grow 2x or 3x their sales by using the right strategies, processes, and systems. And he helps put the human back into sales. Welcome, Ross. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Avon. Thanks for having me on the show and having a chat. We've had a couple of good chats.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's exactly why we brought you back. So, now you are listening to the Business Octopus. It is a podcast about all things sales, marketing, and technology. I'm Avon Cullis, CRM and marketing automation specialist at Relevate, and so we had a few discussions offline beforehand, and we thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk through, something that's missing. Everybody thinks sales is, got to make X amount of calls, got to knock on X amount of doors. And there is an element of that for sure. But I think you can't just skip by and say it's purely a numbers game. I mean, if you aren't doing the right things, in terms of dealing with humans, you are just going to fail, no matter how many doors you knock, no matter how many times you pick up the phone. So I guess that kind of lends itself into when you run a business and you're trying to not be the only guy doing all the sales or girl, and you are constantly trying to figure out how to hand that task off to somebody else. How does a business owner stop being the only person that sells in business?
They're the chief salesperson. They're the director of sales. But they need to, I shouldn't say the word need. It's best if they find other people. And that's why we do things like communities, like the Relevate group and networking. They are your sales channels, and people tend to forget that they actually have a strategy, and their strategy is to market and sell their business through the different sales channels, which is online, social media, your websites, coming on podcasts. Those are parts of that. And also your business connections. And that's one of the things I'm really strong on when I'm first working with clients, is to understand their business and sort of say, hang on a moment, if you think of a tree, it's got roots. And the roots are, there's your employees, if you've got employees, there's your business community, which is what you're working in and where you, if you're in B2B sales, where you're getting it from, but you've also got the community that you're in. If you're getting, that works with you, supports you, you get things from, and also your customers come from there. And also the other thing people do forget about the tree of a business is their family, and all those parts. So you've got to water those parts and give them the nurturing. This is why I love the tree analogy. You've got to take those things. And so if you work and build those relationships with those and keep those strong, you're not the only person selling, because your normal personality comes through. And people, if they know and like and trust you, they'll refer you and make recommendations. I mean, I go into a coffee shop and I'll take photographs. If they give me good service and things like that, I'll take photographs and put them up. I don't want to put photographs. If I get poor service, I might tell them, but I won't put photographs and say, this is a 4-star rating. I just won't put a testimonial. They don't need that type of stuff on there. They're working hard. And as long as I give them the feedback and give them the opportunity to put it right, maybe it'll come right.
I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head there a little bit, because I know that some people will probably be listening to this and go, oh, well, I'm highly transactional. People aren't going to do that for me, or this doesn't work, or it's not applicable to me. But look at the Uber, and, yes, you don't really interact. You don't have that front end sales conversation with the person, but they get in the car, they have an experience, they leave a review, and that determines how well the algorithm gives you the next ride, or whether it skips on to the next person, or whether someone hits reject, I want another driver. So I think also in a highly transactional business like a coffee shop, you've walked in the door, they're not going to necessarily build a long relationship with you if you've just sort of come in from anywhere else. But that relationship builds within the first few milliseconds of that relationship, of that coffee visit, because they look at you, they understand the cleanliness of the place, whether you looked at them and smiled, or whether you got a crappy service or you had a really bad interaction. So I can imagine that service layer, whether you think it happens in 1 second or 100 hours, is still just as important in any way, shape, or form. So how do you, I guess, in terms of being the only, or the person that stops being the only person, the business owner, how do you stop being the only person? Is it that you, obviously, yes, you are the chief salesperson, but do you train people? Do you give them guidelines? What's the next step?
Well, the next steps are, remember, everything you do is selling your business. And it's from the time that you put up a brochure, any written form of thing, even your invoices help you sell your business, and how you accept payment, how everything you do, anything you put out, and wherever you go, you're representing your business. Because if you're a solopreneur, the only person in the business, then you're going out and you're representing yourself. So however people see you is how, and you've got to be there all the time, number one on the game. But if you've got a plan to scale, and ideally, if you get to a certain level, you're going to have to get people to sell for you one way or another. They might be doing the social media for you. They might be doing calling for you. They may be attending shows for you and standing and handing out the brochures for you, however it is. But you've got to plan that. If you don't plan for that, it's not going to work well, because everything you've got to do has got to be replicatable. If you're going to scale and bring other people on, you've got to have it so it's got to systemize, and it's got a process and it's systemized, and you can teach that to them. And that's really hard. I even find that hard, because we all control freaks, and particularly when we start, this is our baby. Nobody understands that business. And it's like giving your books over to an accountant, a bookkeeper and an accountant. That's the best thing you can ever do. I mean, I don't fill out I could get my GST all done, but I hand it over, and I pay the money to the accountant. It gets done right, and all I got to do is pay the GST. I put the money aside. But that's how you scale. You have to think about, have a plan to do it, how you're going to do it. You know you're going to have some pain when you do it, because often when you need to scale, you're just about at 110% capacity, and you can't keep that up for too long. And then but when you bring the second person on, you haven't got quite enough money to make a real profit there, a good profit, while you're paying them to build up and come up to stream. So you want to have a system and process so you can get them up to speed really quick.
Echoing stuff I talk to clients about all the time is particularly around like knowledge management and being able to scale. And I really like the tree methodology, because a lot of times, yes, we talk about growth and having light, water, and the right temperature and the right conditions for the plant to thrive. And you can control some things to an extent, but the others you've got to just be able to deal with. But the interesting thing about a tree is that it grows up and down. And so the growth up is what you sort of see, but the down, I equate it, you tell me your methodology, but I sort of equate it like you're almost creating a movement. That's what's in the hearts and minds of the customer or the community around you, like you say, your family, your friends, and your networking groups, etc. So the more deeply rooted it is, the more likely you are to survive, and the more likely you are to be sturdy against the elements and the winds and the things that knock you around. So, I mean, that's my interpretation. You tell me yours.
No, you've got it dead right. Because if you think about it, different businesses are different types of trees, and you've got to decide what tree you're growing, which product, service, or industry sector, whatever you're in. Yeah, and then it's growing. So that's your vision. So the trunk is really the vision of your business, and it grows bigger and stronger the more you water it and feed it and all those things. And eventually it comes to fruit. and the fruit of the opportunities that your
Mm.
business, your community, and your employees, and you and your family members all have, given the resources and the nutrients, so the fruit
Mm.
grows that you can pick, and that's what the opportunities are, and that's what you're trying to do, is pick those ones over time. So and I like that analogy, because other farming analogies don't have happy endings for the farming activity, where fruit,
Yeah.
the trees keep on growing, and you can have different fruit on different sides of the different environments, climatic environments, and they do differently. So you have to adjust and adapt. So that's those. But the key behind it is, if you nurture it and look at all those parts, and you bring it forward, and you use technology in today, and you're a CRM expert. I've got a really strong background in CRM and technology, but technology, all those systems give you the opportunity to reduce the amount of work that you have to do, and you can do the stuff that where you get bang for your buck, and you make that work for you. And CRMs are really good at that, and people don't tend to buy them. The big thing is, 18 months to 24 months down the line, they often say, it's not working for me, because they've paid $25 a month or $50 a month or hundreds of dollars a month, but they haven't invested in the training to get to know it, and investing time to do the training, because a lot of systems have great online systems, and it's like any system, anything. If you don't train, you don't get the results that you would like. And when you're paying money, make that. I say that to reach a goal or to do anything, particularly if it's your business, it's not a sacrifice; it's an investment.
I think I do love analogies, because working in a very technical sort of field in CRM, quite often I have to live with analogies talking to the client, because they don't understand the ins and outs and technicalities, and what the different modules, and what's the difference between a workflow and a trigger and all that sort of stuff. So and just thinking about trees, it made me think there was a cyclone in Darwin a few years ago, when I lived there, and there was all these huge mahogany trees. They were absolutely beautiful trees, and it kind of speaks back to the what we're saying about having the depth in your organization, having it grow quite deep. Is these things have notorious for having very shallow roots, and they were all over Darwin, and all these things that were really old trees, they all blew over. And of course, someone went along and cut them up, and there's lots of mahogany slabs of wood around, which are absolutely beautiful. But basically, they just weren't established deep enough and long enough. And I think that instability, that's from an analogous perspective back to business, without having those systems and without having the team around you, like if the owner gets sick, if the owner can't turn up to work for whatever reason, something happened at home, they get stuck. I got stuck in Melbourne once because I had COVID, and things were able to run completely fine without me. I was sick on the couch for a week, and get back to work, and people just give me a back brief of what happened. So having those systems are fantastic. So I guess keeping it more around the sales focus.
Sure.
How does someone move towards getting their first sales hire?
First thing is, as you said right at the beginning, everybody is a human, and they don't like being sold to, but you have to tell them about the product. But it's important to ask, what's in it for me? Answer the question, what's in it for me, all the time. We use the analogy of, you don't go to Bunnings to buy a drill, you go there to buy a hole, effectively. But for me, you're not buying a hole. What do you want the hole for? To put a plug through, so you can plug the computers in, so you and the family can sit there and play games together. So it's really family time. And it's understanding what the ultimate benefit, and takes time to build that.
And as the IT guy, they'd try to cross-sell on wireless devices, so they don't have to drill the hole in the wall.
There you go.
Yeah. There we go.
And that's and all the benefits of doing that. there's a whole, you and I could discuss benefits to the cows come home on that one. So it's understanding the humans and understanding that there's different people are at different stages, and they're in different, they've got different needs and wants, and only maybe 10%, 5 to 10% will be in the market for your product right now. But stay there and keep in contact with those people so that they actually, all the other 90%, that you're there for them when they want it. Because when the 10% that bought today are not buying now, and look for and plan for repeat purchases if your business can do that. You know, and most businesses can get a repeat purchase, but some are not. But it's understanding, and I say there's 3 types of customers, and there's 2 really important ones that people forget or they don't understand properly and plan for it. And that's what a current customer is. So when you go and buy something from somebody, that's a current customer, right?
Yeah.
But when do they stop being a current customer? If you think about a real estate agent, they can spend quite a bit of time with a person who's buying a house. But are they really a customer? No, they're not a customer. They are a prospect, and they've got to keep in contact with them. They're only a customer when they buy the house. But then they stop being a customer. They become a past customer until they're going to buy something else. So you have to talk to them differently.
Well, technically, there's 2 sides to that equation, because there's also the seller and they need the listing. So, and I have spoken with real estate agents before, and they've basically told me, I don't care about the buyer, I only care about the listing. So, and I think that people understand their metrics. Where you sort of said, we said at the start, sales is not a numbers game. So if you get 50 listings, doesn't mean you're going to sell all the houses. And I think particularly on the lower end, the commission percentage is not worth chasing. So the difference in someone paying 10 grand more is probably like $10 to them ultimately in their sales commission. So they're more interested in getting sellers than they are in getting a quality price for the sale. So I think there's always unintended outcomes for things like that. But in my mind, you would definitely want to look for the right sort of culture, the right sort of fit, and then being able to train them on your way of doing things. So having it written down is definitely a very strong way to improve the sales hiring process.
That whole but if you have a look at that, who's a customer now and who's not. Take a mortgage broker, they've got a person who's got a mortgage through them. Chances are they'll refinance their mortgage within 18 months to 2.5 years. And I worked with a mortgage broker, and they weren't contacting them until around about 22 months. So 2 months before the 2-year mark was up. Well, the banks had their hooks into the customers a lot longer, and they hadn't been in contact. It was too long. You have to find an appropriate time. You might not want to be them in their pocket every month or in their email box every month, but you want to be there and show that you still care about them and have listened. And then they are, once they've got the mortgage, they're still an existing customer because you're getting rid of a flow. But you want to keep in contact. There are others, like you buy something today, a lawnmower, for example. If I buy a lawnmower today, I'm going to want one in 4 or 5 years. But if you've got 100 people who buy a lawnmower today, there's 100 people that can buy for another lawnmower from you 5 years down the line. And it's understanding. So defining what an existing customer is and when do they stop and when do they become a past customer. So they stop buying. Because your communications are different. You have to talk to them differently. And the other big thing is talking about personalities. People react to information differently. And I don't get up in the morning to get no's. I was talking to somebody yesterday about it. They employ a telemarketer because they can't stand getting the no's so frequently in a day. They don't want any more no's. I hate it. I mean, I've done telemarketing for myself, and every time I do it, I hate it. Every time I get a no, I hate it. It puts me on a, okay, it's only business. It's only a no, not now. And it'll come. But it's really hard. But I don't get up in the morning to get 10 no's or 100 no's. I get up in the morning and get 10 yeses or 100 yeses. I want more yeses. I don't want more no's. You want more people to say yes. And if you have that focus and your communication, all your material, and then you start thinking about the different personalities and the buyer profiles, then you can adjust the communication to adapt to them. And then you'll get more yeses.
And I think that's where CRM definitely comes in, because, we closed a deal recently where they just said, I said, hey, sorry to sound a little bit naggy. I've been following you up a few times. Is it too much or not enough? And they're like, no, it's totally fine. We've just been absolutely flat out, super keen to get this sorted. Thank you so much for following up. So it's not that people hate being followed up. It's just they don't want the wrong cadence or the wrong speed or volume for them specifically. So I agree. Yeah, I definitely like the more yeses side for sure.
Yeah. And it's, you talk about the CRMs, and I think you and I were talking about it the other day. Technology allows you to share information between your systems, your accounting system and the CRM, your customer service system and the CRM. And they're using could use the same information. I work with a company where we actually use the CRM with the accounts team, because the sales reps were going out saying, hey, buy my product. And the accounts team are ringing them up saying, you haven't paid your bill, we're going to put you on stop credit. And the account exec was getting a bit upset because he was going, your accounts team was ripping into me. And what we did is that we got a liaison through the CRM, and so that the sales team knew exactly what was happening with the accounts team, and we reduced the amount of money that was outstanding by 30%. And that company.
Yeah, I was just going to say the impact to the business. When people think of CRM, they go, what's my direct return on investment? But there's so many underlying kind of benefits that people just do not measure. Things like that, in case in point. And I really just wanted to draw attention to that, because that's incredibly powerful from a cash flow perspective for a business.
30%, if you reduce your outstanding debtors by 30%, in that particular company's case, that was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
And that was, even as a percentage, it still made a really big difference from, as you pointed out there, the cash flow, because it's the speed of money through your business that you're trying to do. And the other part that we were talking about, when you sort of use technology to segment the database, you segment. I've got a profile for my business. My ideal profiles are, and his name is Michael, and he's somewhere between 35 and 60, and he has all these things. And I've got a whole list. It's about this long of what they are. But I also have Lauren, she's between 30 and 50, and has a list of things, right? But I've got a photograph of them with my profile. Yeah. So when I'm sending out emails, and then you sort of break it down, use the technology like CRMs and that to break it down, so you can send the communications. I've got 5,000 people in my database. I can get it down to one person if I put enough parameters in there. But I've got a group there that's only 17 people out of 5,000 that will get an email about a specific set of topics. And I don't have to think about it. I just have to click on that group.
Yeah, high personalization and very specific on who you're actually messaging is very, very powerful. So what are some of the ways to increase customer retention?
That is purely treating people as humans and valuing them and giving them the extra value, and not using every opportunity to sell to them. To me,
Mm.
the birthdays is about saying if you don't have a really good relationship or a personal relationship with them, it's really hard to wish them happy birthday because they know it's a system. But you can have it sent out. But I'm always very wary where I say happy birthday. Should I know that information or not? And what should I do? Should you offer them a discount or not? You can, but don't make sure that the birthday is far more important than the gift or the offer. The purpose of celebrating their birthday is not the offer. It's celebrating their birthday and saying, hey, we know you gave us your birthday and we want to recognize that day for you from that, to make that important. So it's looking at all the things that make it up of being a repeat customer. If you want them to be a repeat customer, think about them, their families. Are their families going to be eventually buying? So you take care, reflect milestones if you know that information, and it's going through it all the time. But every time you treat them with respect and value them and add value, give more value than what your product is worth. And value doesn't have to equal price. Value is in the eyes of the beholder. I mean, a pair of shoes is a pair of shoes, right? So how come some people will pay $1,000 for a pair of shoes and others won't pay more than $50 for a pair of shoes? No.
There was a bit of a social experiment / marketing stunt done by, I think it was a spend less shoes or something like that. Some like really low cost, normally like you buy them for $10, $20. And anyway, they made like a high-end store look, and they basically had very little on the shelves. Everything was very well spaced out, well lit. And then they had like someone fancy, in there as the salesperson with a suit. And as people would walk in, they'd ask them, how much do you think this shoe is worth? And they're like, got to be at least like $200, $300, $400 for pairs of shoes that were actually for like $20 or $30. So, and they called it out and they said, this is actually spend less or, cheap shoes or whatever the shop was called. So it's amazing how perception is changed by the things around it. And that's more of a marketing conversation, but definitely, I understand what you're saying around birthdays. I think that it works for some transactional things, like a restaurant or a movie theater where there's not a high value and they're not going to spend, 20 hours getting to know you. But definitely for those relational things, you can cross a line very easily by saying, buy now and get a free set of steak knives.
Yeah. And what I recommend them do, you're talking about the relationships with your business community around you and the community around you. Do things like maybe go out to a restaurant that you know the owner with and some other businesses and say, look, I'd like to recommend our customers come to you to take advantage of it. And if we can maybe you could offer it at a 10% or 20% or an extra dessert is thrown in or whatever it might be. But so when I have a birthday wish, if you'd like to go out for dinner to celebrate your birthday, please go to XYZ restaurant, cafe, and they'll give you 10% in a bottle of wine or whatever. And you might put a cooperative money towards that cost. Or they might just, because they're going out, that's going to go out to 100 people or 1,000 people, whatever the database is. That's promotion for them that they would never have got because you're recommending go there and you're staking your business's reputation that they're going to get a good meal.
Yes,
so you're not going to give them to the restaurant that you didn't get the good experience. You're going to get them that they're going to get a good experience, but it might not be the dearest, but it's in your local community. So you're bringing a bond of you and the businesses together and people supporting local businesses too.
And that's getting into like partner marketing and things like that, which can be very, very powerful. Well, it's been quite great conversation around helping people to identify those sort of sales markers and being able to help understand the value and role of community around your business, in the sense of, those, like you said, the restaurants and, your employees and your customers ultimately. What is there any, I guess, closing comments before we're sort of getting close to the time? Any closing comments you want to leave our audience with?
There's one is personality. Is understanding the personality of your businesses, and if there are 4, I use a personality tool, Codebreakers, Bank personalities, and there's 4 different profiles. And if you talk, the research shows that if you don't talk to them in their language, only 18% will buy. Where if you talk to them in the language of their personality type, 82% will buy. So effectively, you're sort of saying, if you don't care how you talk to them, only one of them 4 are going to buy from you. So that means the other 3, 75%, are going to buy from somewhere else. So if you can find ways to adjust that and talk to them, then you're talking their language. And that's what it's all about. It's talking language. It is adjust everything. Use technology. Use AI. Don't be afraid of it. Use it, but don't let it replace you. And use customer relationship management systems, and use information in your accounting system. One of my clients, their sales rep has done a fantastic job getting up his information so that when he goes to the Friday sales meeting, he's got his budgets, he's got where they're all at, and he knows what he's been doing and what projects he's working on with each client, and quickly flick it up to the director, and it'll go. Okay, so use those things, but understand that you've got 3 customers: active, past, and current, and you've got the business community and the community around you. Then you've got leads and you've got prospects, and you've got to talk to them and understand that amongst those, there are influencers and there's the actual buyer. I worked for an insurance company once, or financial services, and they had 5 different people. They had the life insured, the policy holder, the owner, and the payer. And I can never remember what the 5th one was, but I know there's a 5th one. And so when I asked for data to send a mail out, I had to make sure which one I specified. So understand your customers and your segments and your database, so you can do that. And sales will come to you. Get more yeses today, and stop trying to go for no's. Try and get more yeses. This would be what I would say.
Sage advice. It's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much, Ross. And I have we've got the Business Octopus. So you've been listening to the Business Octopus podcast. You can find out more about Ross and Nexttree business growth strategies on LinkedIn. Now, you did make mention of a personality quiz. Can you tell us just a little bit more about that?
Okay, yeah, sure. As I said, I use the Codebreaker personality quiz, and it takes less than 90 seconds, and it's a link online, and it'll be in the show notes. I'm picking the link. It's free. It'll take you that, and you'll get a comprehensive report about you. And if you've got questions, I'm quite happy to answer them. But you'll find that personality quiz might open up some ideas to you on how you can talk to your family and relationships. It's really quite. It's not just about sales. It's about people relationships.
So who can take that? Can people put their staff through that, or just the business owner? Who do you want to do that?
Anybody. They can they can use that link, and they can give it to their staff. They can even put their family, their loved ones, their life partners through. They can put the kids through. It's just a click on the link, and the link takes everybody to the same page, and they can fill out the details so they can get a report customized to them. It's customized to their personality type. But it's one of the key things that I work now when I'm working with businesses, and even my own marketing and sales is based around the personality types. But I don't want to go into that now. I like that. What we've done today, let's keep it there.
Yeah, no worries. Well, you can go to the link and check out the website. Speaking of websites, thank you for listening here today. But if you want to get more great insights or even have a chat with Ross, you can join the Relevate Community, which is a digital business accelerator. And we've got heaps of content, resources, links to other episodes, etc. And whatever platform you're watching on now, hopefully it's YouTube, but give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, and leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of the show and if you had any other questions. Otherwise, you've been listening to the Business Octopus podcast live stream. Thank you so much, Ross, and it's been fantastic having you. Thank you for listening, and take care.
Thanks very much, Ava. Thanks to everybody for listening.